Welcome everybody, and welcome to Nadia Tolstoy, partner, interior designer, and also a design manager at Tengbom. I leave the word to you, Nadia.
Hi guys, nice to know you're there, even if I don't see you. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to get started because we only have 20 minutes. So we need to crack on and not lose any time. So I'm from Tengbom Architects, and this is me. I'm an interior architect, trend forecaster partner, and I will talk for 20 minutes. So I will talk pretty fast. And I'm going to talk about workspace trends after COVID and what's happening in the future. No one knows for sure, but what we do know is what we want post-COVID. We want work-life balance, we want a sense of belonging, and we want to work in creative workspaces. We have been working from home for so long. It's been over a year now in this pandemic. And one thing that we notice as interior architects, and I notice when I look around, is that we want a human-centric workplace. This is going to be a huge trend in the future of the workplace. The idea that the workplace needs to be more human-centric and more human-friendly, and not so much focused on only work, but also being a good place to hang out. The workplace of the future is flexible. I predict that this is going to be the most important thing in the workplace when we go back to work. So that is going to be my focus today. Why? Well, because if there's one thing we have learned during this pandemic is that everything can change in the blink of an eye. Working from home is the ultimate flexibility, right? And is that going to be the new flexible way of working in the future? Maybe part of the time, I'd say, because statistics show that people do want to work from home. There was a new survey by Kantar Sifo in Sweden asking people how they wanted to work after the pandemic. And 96% of employees said that they wanted to continue working from home, full or part-time, when the pandemic is over. Interestingly, the employers, the people employing these people, God, that was complicated. Anyway, employers said that they wanted, 71% of employers wanted people to come back to the office as usual, but not Spotify. They said, hey guys, we've noticed you appreciate the work-life balance you've been having when you've been working from home. So now we are introducing working from anywhere policy. This is a new policy that Spotify have introduced, and they say work isn't somewhere you go, it is something you do. So there's been a shift in attitudes and how we see work and where we do it, because it's not somewhere you go, it's something you do. And they talk about giving people the freedom to work from anywhere in the world, wherever that may be. Even Facebook is investing in this remote work. They've announced a VR app, and together with Oculus Quest, a headset, which is called the Infinite Office. And it's a VR office environment. So they are definitely investing in remote work. And they're not the only ones. There are very many different kinds of platforms from working remotely. This is a platform called SoCoco. It's an online workplace where teams can work together each day side by side, no matter where the team members are. So in your SoCoco online office, all team members can pop into a collaboration session, bump into a colleague in the hall, or attend a team lunch digitally. Another example of this digital online work is this example from Miro. It's a free, simple to use online whiteboard, and it's built to help you collaborate with other people anytime, anywhere. So it's like a huge whiteboard that is entirely digital. But how do the employers know if their employees are happy or unhappy, and if they're depressed or not? This is really difficult when you're working remotely. So there's this company called Moodbeam, an English company, who have developed this bracelet. It's a Moodbeam bracelet where there are two buttons. The blue button is for showing your boss that you are unhappy, and the yellow button is for showing your boss that you are happy. So you press these buttons at different times during the day, and it helps your boss know that you're happy or unhappy. Because the workplace of the future must benefit community, cooperation, and positive corporate culture. And can we really do this remotely? I think some companies can and will, but many will want to go back to the office in some way. And if we do go back to the office, we need to explore a way of creating this hybrid office in various different ways, a new flexible office. And when I say flexible offices, of course, you think of flexible rooms. And this is something that can really help collaboration. So this is absolutely right. Flexible rooms like this we've seen before. This is Adobe's offices in London. And these partition walls is not a new thing, even though I think they've used it creatively here, sorry. And the wall in the middle there that's still separating the two rooms that you can see that have opened up is a wall called Skyfold, that is actually a flexible wall that folds up into the ceiling. So that's another way of creating a collaborative and flexible office. Another thing that you probably think about when you think about the flexible workplace is this activity-based workplace, ABW. So this is not a new trend by any means, but to remove individual rooms and create an open plan, flexible office is another really useful way to create a flexibility at work. This is an image from Telia's headquarters in Stockholm that we have designed, and this is kind of spectacular with plastic bubbles and digital rain and whatnot. But that's not actually what I want to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about is this much more practical aspect of the activity-based workplace. In this floor plan, you can see the different zoning. We talk about typologies in this case. Is there an echo? Do you hear an echo, Tor?
A small echo
I'll see
sometimes.
If I can speak.
Yes.
I can back up a bit from my microphone. It might be the computer playing up. So I'll try and back away a bit. There's different typologies in this floor plan. And this is a really interesting way of looking. This was done before COVID. So in the top corner, you see focus workplaces. They're all walled in and encircled so you can work quietly. But I've recently worked with a client who said, no, we're not going to need focus workplaces because this is the focus work our employees can do from home. What we want is the meeting place. We want these big tables where we can meet. We want the collaborative furniture, but we're not so interested in the focus furniture. So that's a really interesting trend when you're planning for the post-COVID office of the future. Also, of course, the lounge areas are going to be really, really important because that's something that we see again and again, that to create the office of the future, you need to attract your employees to come back to the office, because if you're not attractive, the employees are not going to come back to the office. They're going to work remotely where they can work in this focused fashion. And that's really interesting because even Spotify that declared that they are making their offices redundant, really, in a way, because they say you can work from anywhere, you can work from anywhere in the world. They also say, recently declared in the Design online magazine for design, that they're going to make their offices feel more like home, as at the same time as they introduce the work from anywhere policy. So they create more home offices at the same time as they say you can work from anywhere, because they really want their employees to meet in the office and to feel comfortable and to be more. This is a more human-centric approach that I mentioned earlier as well, that in this new post-COVID world, people don't have to go to the office. So if you're an employer, you're going to have to have employees back. The people who work for you need to be attracted to come back to the office and need to feel like it's more like home than it used to be in the past. Of course, flexible furniture play a part in the new flexible office of the future. This is a collection from Steelcase, a large American furniture company, and they have this collection that they call the Flex collection. And here you see everything is foldable, stackable. You can slide it this way or that. The panels in the back, you can slide them, or you can roll the little stools around. So this is super flexible. Even more flexible is the Pixel box from Bene, which looks like a box, but they say, Bene, the company, they say it can be a bench, a platform, a shelf, a desk, and much, much more. And they talk about bringing a new dimension in team working and meeting culture to the workplace, creating a playground-like space that encourages lively group dynamics and creativity. Because what we want from the future of the workplace, from the workplace in the future, is creativity and a creative place to meet. But of course, we are going to still have these online meetings. I'm telling you this online for an online conference, and these online meetings are here to stay. Last year, at about this time, in March last year, Microsoft Teams gained 12 million new users in a week, 12 million in a week. So these digital meetings are definitely here to stay. And all offices aren't built to be digital meeting offices. So there are lots of different producers on the market who are making these different kinds of rooms in the room. This is a product called Tiger by Locobox. And of course, there are many other people who make these kind of products. But it's interesting because it's a product that's in between a room and a piece of furniture that you can bring with you if you move, or if you move to another office, or if you can buy extra ones if you need more in the future. So it's a way of being flexible. But we also need to broaden the word flexible. I've talked to you about all the different ways of being flexible in an interior of an office, but there are many ways of looking at this. This image, I think, really illustrates what I mentioned earlier. It shows that we are going to need these digital meetings and these digital meeting rooms. As you see, they're in front of a green screen here, and there's this flexible Microsoft screen, which is also a computer on wheels that you can wheel around, so you can have these meetings anywhere and show and tell as they are, the architects are doing in this image. The product is also a smart whiteboard and a touch screen that you can use for different things. So it's not just for digital meetings, but it's also a touch screen. Being able to work outdoors is also a flexibility that many have become used to in this pandemic. I think we've all had these meetings out of doors with our friends and family and colleagues where we haven't been able to meet indoors because of the risk of the virus. And it's something that I think we appreciate, especially in the Nordics, to be able to actually be out of doors when it's a sunny day. There are so few warm, sunny days here in the north that being able to work from anywhere, and in this case work outside, is something that I really hope that I see more of in the future, so that you can feel that you're not stuck in this boring enclosed office. So this is another post-pandemic trend that I hope to see more of. This is an example from NOLA, who have a concept called Workout, with charging and sun, what's the word for it? Well, so charging your phone with the sun, you know what I mean. Another trend is this. It's a project we did for Naturvårdsverket here in Stockholm. It's an interior project, and it's another way of looking at flexibility, where I say that flexibility in furnishings can also be an attitude when it comes to environmental thinking and recycling. In this case, Naturvårdsverket moved to these new offices, but they brought pretty much all of their old furniture with them because they wanted to have a really high environmental profile, which is wonderful, and we applaud it. As interior architects, it becomes a little bit tricky because you have to deal with maybe colors and furnishings that don't match exactly the new concept. But I think it's really, really important to consider this when you're considering the flexibility of the future office. Consider reusing products and building things out of old things. As you can see, we made this greenhouse out of old windows. So this is another way of looking at flexibility. It's a flexibility that maybe says that everything doesn't have to be so matchy-matchy, that it can be a little bit eclectic because it is more environmentally friendly when you recycle the furniture. And even investing in recycled furniture is a way of being flexible and saying, okay, these are the chairs that are available to buy now, let's go for them, and then adapt the design to this. Also, post-COVID, we really need to reassess how we want to work and what is going to be the purpose of the new workplace when we go back. And it's really interesting to see different trends on how different companies are dealing with these different trends. This is an example of a co-working company. Co-working is definitely not a new trend, although we're going to see more of it post-pandemic, post-COVID. But this is interesting because it's the actual property owners themselves opening their own co-working concept. It's called Cecil Co-working, and it's in central Stockholm. And they're not renting out their building to companies to rent. They're doing their own co-working concept. Another example is the hybrid co-working. This is an example from France. They call it collectif hybride or corpo working instead of co-working. It's a Villa Bonne Nouvelle in France. It's the company Orange, which are a telecom company in France. And they have a mix of not only their own employees who sit in this location, but also freelancers. There's about 60% freelancers in this location who work with telecom engineering, but also the employees who are only about 40%. And I think that's got to be a really good way of recruiting for Orange, because it means they can take from the freelancing pool and employ people that are freelancers and that they know are nice people and friendly and work with their company. Another example, another hybrid example is this new office. I think we have some attendees that are Finnish. This is the new Artec headquarters in Helsinki, and they have a hybrid that is half showroom and half office, where they invite retailers and architects like me to come and see all their Artec and Vitra furniture in the HQ, which is also this fantastic showroom. To create attractive meeting places is really important to motivate people to actually go back to the office. And this is maybe the biggest trend of all. And this means creating nice offices, but also maybe looking into food and beverage, which Financial Times says is a really important new trend that we see. That this is an example from Station F, which is a startup campus also in Paris, where they have these old train carriages that are restaurants. Or it can be the other way around. This is like a co-working in a restaurant, where the restaurant is a restaurant in the evening, but it's a co-working concept during the day, but they can also provide food to the people who are sitting there. So they call this restaurant a drop-in workspace during the day. This is an example called Spacious in America. And I'm sure you've all noticed that people are buying dogs and adopting dogs like there is no tomorrow. How will we manage with all our wonderful new pets in the future and in the office of the future? This is an example again from America. It's called Bark. And of course, they make dog-related products. But I think there's definitely a trend here that you can bring your dog to work now that you've actually adopted a dog. You don't want to leave it at home when you have to go back to the office. This is my last slide, and it's a slide to discuss flexibility in a more zoomed out way. This is a company called Spreetail, and they used to be in the suburbs of Austin in Texas in America, but they've decided to move back to central Austin because there's research showing that longer commuting times are associated with lower job and leisure satisfaction, and it gives the employees poorer mental health. So these long commutes are a thing of the past, I think, and we're looking at being more flexible in a more central location as well. Right. Are there any questions? I've spoken nonstop for 20 minutes. Now it's your turn to talk.
I can only see one question so far, and it's Timo.
Yes.
And
I'm going to stop sharing.
Maybe you can read it for yourself. Timo is asking what you should think about when you're creating a home office.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I've many colleagues and myself actually as well who are starting to get it's not the tennis elbow, the mouse shoulder because of bad ergonomics. And I think you know these desks that you can lower and raise. It's not very common to have this at home, but I was talking to a colleague who was using an ironing board, and I think to answer Timo's question, the really important question, the important thing is to really think about how you're sitting and how you're actually your posture and how your body is working, because we tend to not go to the printer as often and not chat with our colleagues as often since we're working alone. So we tend to sit very rigidly and still at home office, and often at the kitchen table, which is not a very ergonomic way either. So I really think getting your employer to maybe invest in an ergonomic chair for you, and maybe in a desk that you can lower and raise is really important, so you don't it's not bad for your health.
Have you seen any scientific studies about home working and how you place yourself in the home? I mean, if you work in the kitchen or in the living room, or maybe is it better to have a separate room for just working, so you can, you know, close the computer, close the door, and when you're leaving that room, you're out of office, so to speak?
The statistics we see is that most people are very happy with their work-life balance when they are working from home, which tends to say that they found a quiet corner. This doesn't actually really answer your question. The statistics aren't really there to answer your question, but we see that most people are very happy because they can get to focus. But then there's all these people who work from home and who are not able to focus. And that statistics show that some people are very unhappy working from home. Maybe everyone's working from home in a cramped apartment. Maybe there aren't doors that you can close. And I'm suspecting, and this is only a guess, but I'm suspecting the people who are very unhappy working from home are the people who have husbands and teenagers and dogs and all this chaos around them, and they're not able to focus, because I think we all need to focus when we work.
Thank you. While you were presenting, I created a small poll in the poll window, and some answers there. And the question was, how many days every week do you want to work from home?
Yay!
I left out the answer 0 days, because I thought that probably 1 day at least is what people usually tend to work at home. But from the answers so far, we can see that it's over 50% that wants to work from home 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So now it's up to 60%.
Yeah.
So that's the big majority are clearly wanting to work from home.
And that's what the statistics say.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, we have a law that says that the employer is responsible for your working environment. Yes. And this is really interesting, because how is the employer going to be responsible for your home office? It's a really, really interesting aspect that we need to look more into in the future.
Great. And I don't see any more questions. Yeah.
I think Sarah had a question.
Sarah has a question.
How do we motivate that the employer have an expansive office in the city center when we at the same time want to have a flexibility of working both from home and from the office? Really, really interesting question. And it's like, and especially like in Sweden, where the law is that you have to provide your employees with a good working environment. Where do they spend the money? Do they spend it in a desk at home or in a desk at the office? And I'm starting to see offices that don't have any workplaces, only meeting rooms and lounges. So the actual desk is at home, but the meeting rooms and the lounges are at the office, sort of like the Spotify image that I showed before. The place to meet is at the office. So it's a smaller, centrally located office. Smaller means cheaper.
I hope Sarah is satisfied with that answer. Okay, we're running out of time. Thank you very much, Nadia, for a very interesting presentation.
Thanks, guys. It was fun having you here listening to this.
Okay.
Have a good day. Have a good lunch.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.